Ever since the Dune movie premiered last year, the epic sci-fi's following has increased tenfold. Surprisingly, not many people are aware that it's the second theatrical adaptation of Dune, with the first one being released back in 1984. And for today's video, we'll be sharing with you what Kyle MacLachlan has to say as he reflects on working with David Lynch on the original Dune movie. So keep watching to find out all about this and more in today's video. Kyle MacLachlan thinks warmly of his time spent working with David Lynch and the confidence he gave Kyle as he was trying out for Dune, his big break. The sci-fi epic Dune is set in the far future on Arrakis, usually referred to as Dune, a dangerous desert planet. The plot, which is based on the 1965 novel of the same name, follows the noble families of Arrakis as they contend for control of Melange, a potent hallucinogenic substance necessary for space travel, also known as spice, the planet's most valuable resource. Following an extremely damaging betrayal by Emperor Shaddam IV, Paul Atreides, MacLachlan, battles the Empire with the support of the native Arrakis populace, who see him as the long-awaited savior. Writer and director David Lynch is renowned for his surrealist aesthetic, and his filmography has been characterized as dreamy and frequently unsettling. The Twin Peaks television series and Oscar-nominated pictures like Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, and The Elephant Man are what made him most famous. All of Lynch's work is infused with his eccentricities and offbeat sense of humor. His movies nudge viewers to look more closely at the absurdities that keep daily life together and the underbelly of polite society. Dune is MacLachlan's first significant part in Lynch's third full-length film. Long after the production of Dune was over, MacLachlan and Lynch continued to collaborate, with MacLachlan appearing in both Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks. In a conversation with AV Club, MacLachlan remembers Lynch with affection and how he gave him confidence during his audition for Dune. The actor claims that although he doesn't pretend to comprehend everything Lynch does, he still has faith in him as a director. When Lynch pulled him aside and assisted him in resetting before attempting the monologue again, MacLachlan recalled being about 22 years old and utterly outside his comfort zone. He narrated, "There's still the large chunks of data that I don't understand, and I don't need to understand honestly. His movies are experimental, really, and they ask a lot of questions, but there are not a lot of answers provided. But I do remember when I auditioned for the first time for Dune, and I was quite young. I was 22 or 23, and I'd never worked in front of a camera before. And there was this particular scene where I had to address the Fremen, and it's in the movie, and I exhort them along with the fighters, and I needed to talk directly to the camera for this particular audition, which is an unusual thing to do as an actor and kind of challenging." MacLachlan recounted that just as he was beginning to feel a bit frustrated, Lynch just approached him and asked him if he truly knew if he could pull this off. At that point, MacLachlan admitted that he thought he had failed a couple of times. The director reacted by saying, "Kyle, I know you can do this. You got this. Just relax, breathe, take your time." Lynch, according to MacLachlan, simply said all the right things to calm him down and let him realize what he needed as an actor right away. And in case it isn't obvious enough, Kyle MacLachlan and David Lynch became longtime collaborators from then on. Lynch's admirers are aware that often delving deeper into his films raises more questions than they do answers. Even from his vantage point, MacLachlan admits that he does not fully comprehend all of Lynch's works. According to the actor, director David Lynch is very in control and has a clear idea of what he wants to show the audience. MacLachlan talks about making an attempt to trust Lynch's mood and feeling rather than over-analyzing his scripts, since they had already collaborated extensively. MacLachlan follows Lynch's instructions instinctively and with an implicit understanding. Due to the terrible coverage Dune received at the time and the perception that he was compromising with the theatrical version of the movie, Lynch has since distanced himself from it, but the director persisted, and just 2 years later, he cast MacLachlan as the lead in Blue Velvet. Since then, MacLachlan has enjoyed success, and he attributes this to Lynch for giving him his big break. Lynch's actors are able to produce sensitive and impactful scenes that viewers remember long after the credits because of the trust Lynch creates on set. Moving on to other related news, Dune 2 is greenlit for a sequel, and now, in Dune 2, the upcoming sequel repeated the first movie's character change. The Fremen sand rider Shishakli from Dune 2 will be played by Suhelia Yacoub, No Man's Land, who was originally a man in Frank Herbert's book. Shishakli, played by Suhelia Yacoub in Dune Part 2, is a gender-flipped version of the character from the book, much like Neat Kynes, played by Sharon Duncan Brewster in Dune Part 1. Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson's characters, Paul and Jessica, flee to the harsh deserts of Arrakis to live among the Fremen in Site Tabor, in Denis Villeneuve's remake of the Dune series. As Denis Villeneuve's remake of the Dune series approaches the second half of Frank Herbert's influential science fiction book, with the news that Suhelia Yacoub will join the cast of Dune 2 as the Fremen Fedaykin and sand rider Shishakli, viewers can anticipate seeing Paul Paul learn how to ride the big Shai Hulud with maker hooks. Shishakli, who only briefly appears in the book, is the one who initially showed Paul Atreides how to use maker hooks to ride the big maker, which is one of the numerous names the Fremen gave to Arrakis' enormous sandworm. Sand riding is a rite of passage for Fremen boys who have reached adulthood, and it normally begins when they are 12 years old. Hookmen get ready to grab a sandworm after a thumper has indicated its existence. Once on board, the worm steersman ascends the maker and uses the hooks to open and close the sandworm's segmented body, making it roll to keep sand out of its segments and in effect directing the worm as it moves. Learning to ride one of the sandworms of Arrakis is essential to survive in the harsh desert, as the Fremen use them to travel huge distances between sitches. It's also one of the more visually spectacular Fremen customs in Dune. It's hinted in Frank Herbert's Dune that only men can ride sandworms, even though it isn't stated clearly. In addition to having a predominantly masculine vocabulary, Fremen society also places a strong emphasis on gender roles. For example, only women can become Sayadinas and progress to become the Reverend Mother of an entire sitch. By gender swapping the Fedaykin sand rider, Shishakli, Villeneuve will be removing some of the cultural barriers, much like the way he did with Light Kynes, the de facto leader of the Fremen in the original Dune film. It's a clever decision that not only sets Villeneuve's Dune apart from other film versions of the novel, but also enhances the Fremen narrative in Dune. Given that Shishakli is a woman, any young 12-year-old Fremen can aspire to be a sand rider, regardless of gender. Without a doubt, Shishakli's change in Dune 2 improves the Fremen. From a feminist perspective, Suhelia Jacobs' female Shishakli entirely transforms the Fremen into a more progressive culture. It actually fits better with the Fremen's initial portrayal as an infallible indigenous people with only good intentions to make sand riding a gender-neutral tradition. Should Denis Villeneuve's Dune trilogy materialize, the main plot shock in Dune 3 will be much more startlingly effective, since the Fremen more accurately represent a millennia-old civilization that stretches back to the Senzani wanderers who first established the planet. Frank Herbert's Dune, Messiah, the second book in the series, will serve as the inspiration for Dune 3. Paul struggles to carry the weight of being the Padisha Emperor of the known universe, turning Arrakis into the center of the Imperium, and the prophetic insights of omniscience in Dune Messiah, where his visions of the Fremen engaging in a galactic jihad and slaughtering millions in his holy name come to pass. Because of their sophisticated culture and close ties to the land, the Fremen in the Dune novel serves as an excellent example of the errors of Messiah worship. Following the events of the first book, which sees Paul ascend to the throne and the Fremen seize control of Arrakeen, the planet's capital, Dune Messiah depicts the progressive Fremen becoming fervently religious, even though Paul Atreides' prophecies came true, and the Fremen were ultimately able to transform the planet into a verdant paradise. The messianic aspect of Paul's ascent to power as a political leader and the senseless galactic genocide it entailed. Although Suhelia Jacobs' portrayal of Shishakli as a woman in Dune Part 2 may appear insignificant compared to the original novel, it actually distinguishes and significantly enhances Villeneuve's contemporary interpretation of the Fremen of Arrakis. On that note, we're concluding today's video. Are you a fan of the Dune series? Let us know what you think about the movie's decision to gender swap the Shishakli. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. We'll see you again next time, and thanks for watching.